So today we are going over getting our new projects going in Greater Giving. I just shared out my screen, so that should be loading for you all. And I am going to use Buffalo as an example, just because that one's already been started. So today we're going to go over cleaning up your database, getting it ready for next year or this year now for fiscal year 19, making sure it's nice and clean to start the year, getting all of those settings in there so that you're not scrambling last minute when the events get closer, how to get your website set up, the different types of supporters, how to narrow them down and do searches and things like that. And also what's expected of event support versus the event directors. You know, who's responsible for what information in Greater Giving. So if you have any questions at any given time, just speak up. I'll stop periodically to ask if you have any questions, but feel free to stop me if you think of something. Okay, with that out of the way, hopefully everybody can see my screen. If you can't, please let me know. Okay, so we're going to start off with our cleanup. So once or twice a year, at least once, more than that if you can, you want to do a duplicate check and also get rid of any entries in your supporter database that don't need to be there anymore. We all know we can't delete anybody who has any kind of history in Greater Giving, but we can archive them, which basically sends them into the background. Doesn't include them in our immediate database, but we can still search for their information if we needed to. So first way to do a duplicate check is right under supporters. You have this check for duplicates link. This link is only going to find identical duplicates. So if you have somebody in there as William and Bill, it's not going to find that. If it was Bill Alexander and Bill Alexander spelled wrong, it's not going to find that. But if you have two Bill Alexanders, it will find that and compare it. Okay, so we'll do check for duplicates. There aren't any in this. Yay, Bill. So we have no identical duplicates in this database. If you did, it would compare them side by side with radio buttons. You can choose the radio buttons that you want to keep or discard. And I'm actually going to switch databases so that I can show you an example. And I have no idea if there's any in this one either. So check for duplicates. There we go. So we have identical duplicates. There's some info in one side versus the other side. You can choose which side you want to keep, which side you want to discard. You can choose some from one side and some from the other side. If you know this is two different people that just happen to have the same name, you can tell the system that they're not duplicates. If you're not sure if this is the same person or not, you can skip over it. If you want to stop this process at any point, if you have 200 duplicates in there and you get tired after 50 and want to take a break, you can just say done, and then if you come back and you can start up where you left off. If you know this is a duplicate, you can choose your information and hit merge. So I'm going to say done. And I'm going to bounce back to Buffalo. Okay. So the other way to clean up your database is if you go into View Edit Supporters And if you have something like this Diane 1, we don't know who Diane is, unless you do, Bill. Yes, no?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, so we have no idea who this Diane is. I am going to check her off, and I'm going to put her in the archive. You can try to delete them first if you wanted to. If we just check it off and hit delete, it will tell us whether or not we can delete this person. So if they have a sale, even if it was 5 years ago, we're not going to be able to delete that. But if there is no sale anywhere in there, or they have no real history, and we hit delete, it will allow us to do that. So apparently she had no history because it allowed us to delete her. If it said, no, you can't delete this person, what you can do is leave it checked, go up to more in the menu bar, and archive them. So like I said, that sends them into the background. It will gray them out so that if you are looking at your entire database, they're going to be grayed out. If you're looking at your database, just your current people, they're not going to show at all. You can do an advanced search to only look for your archive people. So there is this section in your advanced search to only show your archives, or to show them if they have a role within your current year. So examples of those you want to archive: if a company's gone out of business, if they've been bought out and they're now in here under a different name, somebody who has maybe moved across the country and you don't expect to ever participate again, people who have passed away. If you have household records in here, and say you have a husband and wife in here and they've gotten divorced, you want to archive that household and start over with just 2 individual supporter records. Okay. Any questions on that piece of it?
I'm sorry, Melissa, where's the archive button again, the drop down?
It's under more.
Okay.
So
all
if
right,
you hit
great.
that little drop down caret.
Thank you.
And then say you happen upon a couple of people that, or a couple of records that you know are duplicates. They don't appear exactly the same, but you know it's the same person or company. Let me undo that. You can check them both off, hit the merge button, and it will bring you to that side-by-side comparison where you can choose your radio buttons and then hit merge. Same thing if you come upon 2 people that are in a household together. They're married, or it's a mother-daughter or something like that. You can check them both off and click Join in Household. Keep in mind that when you join in Household, the system is going to automatically assign one as primary and one as spouse. They may not necessarily be the spouse. So you may want to go in there, and I'm not sure if we even have any households in here. I don't see any. I'm going to try and do a search for just households so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, we do have some. Okay, so if we have Melissa and Vanessa Bailey. So the system automatically marked Melissa as primary and Vanessa as a spouse. If Vanessa is actually Melissa's daughter, you can go to the Household Members tab. You can drop that down and change it to child. Or if Vanessa is actually the primary, you can change it to primary. And you saw it did that red flash where you can only have one primary member. You would then need to change the other person. So I'm going to put that back and just cancel out of it so I don't make any changes. So that's how you can change the roles within. The other thing is sometimes if you are if you actually create a household within go time. So as we're checking people in, if we add a second person to their household or a third person or whatever, it's going to name the household as just whoever was in there first. So that's why it just says Melissa Bailey as the household name. To fix that, you can scroll down and just unbreak that paperclip, and it will change it to say Melissa and Vanessa Bailey. So as we come back out here, there's Melissa and Vanessa. Any questions about that? Alrighty. So some of you have 1819 events set up, some of you do not. If you would like yours set up, for heart balls, the only way I can set them up is if you send me the website setup request form, because the only way I can set them up is to set their website background as I'm doing it. So you have to choose your website background, and once you choose that website background, the only way to change it is to delete your entire project. So please, when you make your choice, make sure that that's actually what you want. Okay, so let me get this over here. So if you go on to SharePoint, go to Workspaces, under Interdepartment Folders, go to Development. Over in the left-hand navigation, you'll see the Greater Giving listed. If you click on that and then go into the website folder, you're going to see the fiscal year 19 website request forms. I finally created one for the other events just because we're getting so many hard hat and STEM events and other type of events that are hosted out of Greater Giving. So there is now a third option there. So Heartball, make sure you download these forms, save them to your desktop, fill them out there, and then email them to me. Please don't fill them out on SharePoint. Everybody has to use these forms, so if somebody puts their own information in there, then the next person has to delete it all out before they can do anything with it. So here are our two new website backgrounds for Heartball. So I gave you a little sample picture, and then if you click that link up above, you can actually see what a sample website will look like. So once you choose that background, that is your choice for the year. We can't change it unless we delete your entire project, which means starting over completely in Greater Giving. So fill that out as much as you can. If there's some things that you don't know yet, that's fine. Just do as much as you can and then send it over to me. When we actually look at this in the reading view, so on the bottom of every page of the request form, there is the fda.se.website at heart.org email address. Please use that email address, not my personal one, when you're doing anything website related. So making your request to build your site, if you just need to make an update later and you want to add a Circle of Red member or an ELT member, just send to that. Don't send to my personal one. I actually had this just happen where I took some time off around the 4th, and somebody sent me something for a website in my personal inbox, and I totally missed it. So, and I just realized it was there today as I was digging through all of the mess that's in my inbox. So send it to that SE website email address. That is my priority box. That's the one I go to first. My personal one, I just get so much stuff in there that, like I said, things have gotten lost. Okay. any questions about getting your site up and running? Once you send me that request form, I'll sketch out your site. I'll send you an ugly link back and say, here's what it looks like. Do you want to go live? Obviously, we want to run it by, support staff, event directors, and our communications staff. You'll notice that the heartball backgrounds, or just an FYI for those of you who had really customized heartballs last year, we can't customize those backgrounds anymore. They have locked us down kind of like they did with the Go Red websites. They are much more national driven and template restricted, and that's because of the ADA accessibility laws. So there are a lot of changes to the websites this year. This year with the accessibility. Okay. Once we have your 1819 event set up, first place you want to go in your database, and this will be kind of a partnership between the event directors and the support staff. Event directors, make sure you're getting your support staff this information as soon as you have it, unless you're putting it in yourself. If you want to put it in yourself, that's great. Just make sure that it gets in there ASAP. I was just given a deadline of September 1st for having all of the settings in there. So they want all of your goals and everything entered by September 1st. Obviously, if you don't have your goal setting meetings, with your SVP and all of that, if you haven't done that by September 1st, we're not expecting you to put your goals in if you don't have them. But that is the ultimate goal. So under project tasks, if we go to project settings, you're going to see that you have all of this area to put in your settings. Note that this is all grayed out. We can't edit anything until we hit the edit button. When you hit the edit button, the screen changes. You actually have different fields that show. So I know I hit it. Okay, there we go. So this box just appeared. It wasn't there before. Things kind of changed places. So you want to start on the left-hand side. Do not ever change your project name. That is driven by national, and if you change that, your event will drop off of the national reports. We had that happen a couple times in the past couple years where people wanted to change something. Instead of saying Go Red for Women, they want to Go Red Luncheon. If you don't leave it exactly as I type it in, it won't pull into the reports, and we definitely don't want that happening. If you give me a project date when I set up your event, then your project date will already be in there for you. If you don't give me a date, then I have to put something in, so I put in the June 30th placeholder. Do not change that unless you have a signed venue contract for your date. Don't put in any tentative dates or anything like that, or it's going to be in February, so don't put February 1st. That date, as soon as it changes from that placeholder date to any other date, triggers your equipment order. So if you change that to a tentative date, it's going to trigger your equipment order for that tentative date, and then if you go back in there again a month later and change it to your actual date, that equipment's still coming on your tentative date. If you have something happen where your venue's needs to change the contract, that's fine. Just make sure that if you change your date for any reason, you let me know. If it's just changing from the June to the actual date, you don't need to let me know. But if you have a date in there Maine has March 21st in there, and Pauline confirmed this for me. Maine has March 21st in there. I believe the actual event is March 13th. Pauline?
No, it's March 21st.
It is March 21st. Okay.
It is.
The website request form was sent in with the 13th date on it. Alrighty, so we need to fix the website. Good to know. So anything like that, you need to let me know so that I can get together with the Greater Giving and pass that info on. Okay, next up, if you are in Maine or New York, you have to charge sales tax on auction packages. So just Maine or New York staff, make sure that your sales tax rate in there is correct. As I'm creating the events, I'm actually plugging that in. But if it changes for any reason, you know, your state ups it or lowers it, I doubt anybody's is going down, but just in case, if it changes for any reason, make sure you update that. Over on the right-hand side, as soon as you have an event chair, make sure you're typing their name in there. And also, very, very important, make sure you put the date that they said yes to chairing the event. If you can't remember the exact date, just try to put the first of whatever month it was. So if you remember that they said yes in November, but you can't remember, you know, exactly what day, just put November 1st. If you have co-chairs, you can put them in there with just a slash in between their names. The revenue goal in here, this is your gross goal, not net. Make sure that you are putting in your gross. And this is one of those things that we need in there ASAP, are the gross goal and your direct expense budget. So the expense budget is direct expenses only. Your metro area, I am putting those in as I create the events. So if that looks off to you, just let me know. And I'll double check it with National. They did just change a lot of the MSAs this past year. So not too many of them changed like dramatically, but some of them did. The manager is the event director's name. Account is just your 5-digit work order number. I don't need the 221660 or 650, depending on whether it's Go Redder or Heartball, just the work order number. And that's so that finance, when we get the credit card statements, sometimes it comes in as just Buffalo income, so that we know where to actually apply it. We'll go look up the work order number. Alt ID, you're not going to see those anymore. Those were for Siebel, which they assure us has gone away. Age of project is how many years your event has been taking place, including the current year. So if this is the 10th year of your event, you're going to put in 10 years. Project address is the venue address, not your office address. And this should just be an address, not the venue name. So you don't want to put address 1 in as the venue name and address 2 as the actual street address. You're just putting the street address in there. Your venue name is going to go under location down below. And this is another one that National this last year really looks for. They want to see our venue addresses in there. They've been working on something with the nationalheart.org sites that's going to make our events searchable by zip code. So we need to have those addresses in there for that to work. Okay. You can ignore pretty much everything on the right side of the lower part of the page except the max number of seats. You want to put in the number your venue maxes out at. If you absolutely packed your event and packed your venue to fire code capacity, how many people would be there? and that's the number you put in there. And then over on the right-hand side, like I said, your venue name goes under location. And then if you want to track your auctioneer's name, you can put that in there. Entertainment, that could be your keynote speaker. It could be your band if it's a hardball. That just makes it so that if 5 years down the road you're trying to remember who that great band was that played, in 2013, you can just pull it up and see who that was. Once you've made all those changes, you can just click Save. This is not a one and done. You can fill in information and then come back in and edit it again. So if you know your event date, but you don't have a chair yet, and then 4 months down the road you get a chair, you can come back in and add the chair. Any questions about the project settings? Next spot you're going to is your Accounting Types tab. This is one that is going to come from event directors, again, as you have your goal setting meetings. When you get your actual goal breakdown, so in project settings we had our total gross goal of 110,000, and then that goal gets broken down into where that money's coming from. Circle of Red, Men Go Red is going away this year, so Circle of Red. You should not be putting any goals into Men Go Red. We're not selling that package anymore. National says it's going away. So,
Men Go Red is no longer in existence? Yeah?
That's what Michael says. Me and my counterparts have been instructed to actually delete that package so that it doesn't get sold. Everything is going into Circle of Red.
So it's unisex then. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Circle of Red goals, your direct expense budget, even though you put it on the project settings, you want to put it in here again. If you have a live auction, you should have a goal there. Open Your Heart, everybody has an Open Your Heart goal. If you have a silent auction, your goal will go there, your sponsorship goal, etc. So at the end, if you total up all of this income, so 80 plus 5,000 is 85, plus 15 is 100, plus 10 for Circle of Red is 110,000. That should equal your gross goal from that first page. There's the 110. Perfect. Okay. Any questions about putting in your breakdown? Okay. So, those of you who go back more than a year may recall Karen sending out an email at the beginning of last year asking everybody to put their goal breakdowns in, as well as their silent and live auction procurement goals. And I got a lot of questions. Where does the procurement goal go? So obviously it's not in here. If you should happen to want to put that goal in, I'm not sure it's going to be required this year, but always good to stick it in there if you have it. It goes in item and package sections. So if you click on that and then edit your live auction or silent auction, you'll see your procurement goals in there. So that should be the dollar value that you want to procure for your auction, not your actual income goal. Okay, questions about that? Okay, the last place we're going in our project settings is the tables tab. And you'll see for Go Red events, Greater Giving only gives us 10 tables. Heartballs, I believe it's 50. But should you need more or less than what it gives you, you can go to Table Setup and you can tell it what table number to start at. I prefer, and this is just my personal preference, to start the table numbers in the thousands, and that way you can assign tables as you go. You can assign tables to your groups, and then all you have to do is come back in here closer to your event and renumber them 1 through whatever when you do your room layout. But again, totally up to you whether you want to do your actual table numbers or start high. So your starting table number, Bill, do you have a preference?
Nope, doesn't matter to me. We
Okay.
should probably have around 35 tables, I would think.
So I'm going to start it at the 1,000. You're going to tell it how many tables. So this is where that max seating capacity kind of comes into it. If you know how many your venue maxes out at and you know how many you're sitting per table, do the division, come up with how many tables. So Bill thinks we're going to have about 35. I'll put in 35. Bill, 10-person tables?
Yes, please.
Okay. There are a few events that do 12-person tables, so you can do that if you want to. So just change it to 12 seats per table. And then we're going to delete the existing tables. So say OK. We now have 35 tables numbered 1,000 through 1034, all seating 10 people, so room for 350 people. If you are going to do a table that's bigger than others, let's say Boston Hardball in the past has had one giant table down the center that seats like 20 people. If you need to do that and you don't want your table reports to come up with that big, black, bold, overbooked warning, you can just edit that particular table and change the number of seats. And again, this is also where closer to the event you could change your table numbers. You could name the table according to what company is sitting at it, things like that. Okay, any questions on your table setup? Alrighty. Going back into our project, home. Receipt settings. Super important that these receipt settings get done. I can't tell you how many events we get to and we go to send somebody their event receipt and we realize the settings were never done and the event receipt is blank. That should never happen. If you have your event date, do your receipt settings. It takes 5 minutes and it's going to save you a whole lot of hassle later. So receipt settings, again, I prefer to do them side by side. If you want to do all of one and then all of the other, you can do that too. So we always want to show our package value and our paid above value. And then if you're in Maine or New York, you also want to check off tax. So I'm going to do that for both of them. Filter sales and payments, and you're going to notice as I go through this, the general receipt, we pretty much keep all the defaults except that first, the details to a display and then the email settings. They're really the only ones we change in there. Where most of the changes happen is to the event receipts. Okay, so we're going to keep the defaults for general, and then we're going to omit certain sales and payments for the event receipt. So I don't have an event date yet. We're still using the placeholder. Once we have an event date, you want to fill that in the before box. Do not ever put anything in the after box. We learned by trial and error and a whole lot of panic at an event that if you put an after date in there, your receipts all come out blank. Which can cause problems when you're down to crunch time and you're trying to print all your receipts at an event. So you only want to put your event date in the before box. You want to omit sales and payments above package number 2000. And that way you're omitting anything that is not either auction or open your heart. And then to, as kind of a double check, we're only going to show auction and sponsorship, auction and donation packages. We're going to uncheck the admission and sponsorship. So the only thing we want on our event receipts is auction packages and those open your heart donations. And then the rest is default. Header settings, I don't recommend putting an organization name in there. just because it can be confusing for people. I actually went through last year and renamed a lot of the organizations, which made it a little bit better. But in the past, a lot of them didn't really match. So Poughkeepsie or Duchess Ulster, instead of saying Duchess Ulster, it would have said AHA Poughkeepsie, which, you know, isn't that big of a deal, but we had some that were really far off. So I prefer to show the project name, and that way it will say this receipt is for the 2018-2019 Buffalo Niagara Go Red for Women, rather than just, Buffalo Niagara, or it would say AHA-Buffalo or AHA-Rhode Island, things like that. Project date we do, and then on the event receipt, we're going to show their table assignment. Post-event, if you wanted to, you can come in here and change this label to say invoice for, and you could run your receipts for just those people who still have outstanding balances and send them with the label of invoice to try to collect those payments. Header images, you can put in, the Go Red for Women logo. If you have a special heart ball logo, you could put that in, or you could just put in the generic AHA logo. Totally up to you, but just keep in mind, if you do put a logo in there, keep that image size pretty small. I stick to below an inch. If you make it too big, it will bump your receipts to be 2 pages long, and that's just a whole lot of extra printing and paper we don't need. Footer settings, make sure that you uncheck that show tax ID in footer. Okay. Don't ask me why, I don't know the answer, but National does not want us to put our tax ID number on receipts. It goes into the acknowledgement letters only. If you are charging sales tax, you can also add an extra blurb about that at the bottom of the receipts. Per New York State law, or per New York law, blank percentage state sales tax will be added to the final purchase price of any taxable auction packages, or something to that effect, so that they know why they're getting charged sales tax on those items. Miscellaneous settings we pretty much skip over, just leave the defaults and everything. Email settings, very important. I already changed this one. When I first create your event, there is one person at National whose email gets stuck in these for every single event across the country. So if you don't change these to a local email address and somebody replies to the receipt when we email it, they're all going to her. And then she has to try and figure out who to forward them to. If she figures out that it's an FDA event, she'll forward it to me. Then I have to forward it to you, and then you can reply to the person who had the question. So just much better customer service for it to go straight to you rather than that roundabout route. And then change your email subject to be something more descriptive. So receipt for 2019 Buffalo Niagara Red Luncheon, something like that. And then you can just copy it and paste it into the other box. Same below, your receipt comes through as a PDF attachment. This is the email they get. So this is the default email. They just get an email with one line. Your receipt is attached with a PDF attachment. We've all been taught that when we get random emails like that with an attachment, we don't open them because a lot of times they're viruses. So make sure you're changing the body of that email. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your support in the whatever event. Should you have any questions about the attached receipt, please contact, and then paste in somebody's email signature. Whether it's the event director or the support staff, doesn't really matter, whoever you want it to go to, just make sure it's in there. And then print settings, again, general, we leave the defaults. For the event receipt, we always show a signature line, and then we show our spaces to fill in the payment received and what type of payment we received. A lot of times now we don't even print them. Most people prefer to get them just emailed to them, and they're perfectly happy when we say, I'm going to email you a receipt. Very rarely does somebody really want a printed one, but should you need to, make sure that those are in there. And then last is your payment receipt. There's only one place that you need to change anything. The footer setting, for some reason, doesn't even have that tax ID box. But if you need to put that sales tax statement in there, go ahead and paste that in, and then your email settings. There is no email body. All you have to do is the address, the email address, and the subject line. We really don't even use those payment receipts, but we still want to change those settings just in case. So once you're all done with that, save it. Bill, obviously, once you have your date set, you'll need to go back in there and just fix that. Omit sales and payments before that date.
Yeah, we should have it by the end of the week, I would think.
Awesome. So, any questions about receipts? Alrighty, one more setting, and then I will move on to the next subject. So, another one of those settings that super easy to do right now, causes a giant pain in the butt if you wait until right before your event, are the bid sheets. So bid sheets take 2 minutes to do, and if you don't do them and you start creating your auction packages, then you have to manually adjust every single auction package with your starting bids and your bid increments and your guaranteed purchase price, rather than the system just automatically calculating those values for you. So again, under project tasks, go to set up bid sheets. You have the option of using a guarantee bid if you want. No matter what, you have to use increments, but the guarantee bid is optional. Guarantee bid is basically like a buy it now price. If you were on eBay and you wanted to guarantee that you won that auction, you would just hit buy it now and that item's yours. Same holds true for our auctions. You can set guarantee bids at way above retail. If somebody's willing to pay that price way above retail, then it's theirs, and all bidding stops on that package. So I'm going to leave that there. If you uncheck that guarantee bid box and you just use increments, the system will actually skip over the next step, so you'll never even see this next step. I'm going to leave it there so the next step will show. So next step is it gives you an option of how you want to calculate your increments. So one of the calculations is based on that guarantee bid, or guarantee purchase price. If you're not using it, then you only have one option, which is why it skips it. So you have the option to either calculate your raises based on percentage of your package price or package value, or tell it to divide out your the number of bid boxes by the difference between your minimum bid and that guarantee price. So if you're dividing out, you'll check that second box and tell it how many bid boxes you're going to be using. Just know that if you set your guarantee purchase price at like 200% of value, and you only give it 10 bid spaces, your bid increments are going to be huge. I tend to go for the first one and do 10% of package value. So I'm going to say next. You have the option to make different calculations for packages that are valued over a certain amount. So if we want to say everything over $500 is going to start at a lower minimum bid, you can do that. So we check the box and say everything over $500 starts lower than whatever the minimum raise is. So here we can set our minimum bids, where we start our minimum bids for everything under that $500 price point. So best practice here is anywhere between 35 and 50%. What I generally do is for those lower items, start them at 50%. For anything over the $500 or wherever you consider your high value, start that at the 35%. And we want to round to the nearest $5 so it's a nice even number. Everything will end in either a 5 or a 0. Minimum raise, 10% of value, rounded to the nearest dollar or $5. That's up to you. And guarantee bid can be anywhere between 150 to 200% of the retail value. Again, rounded to the nearest $5. Next page is going to be anything over that $500 price point. We'll start those at 35%, rounded to the nearest 5. You may want to drop your minimum raise a little bit so that your bid increments aren't huge. Say we drop that to 8%, rounded to the nearest $5, and we'll round this to the nearest $5. And I just do the 5s so that everything is nice and neat and you don't have bid increments that are $17 or some weird number like that. Know that if you choose that second option so that your bid increments are divided between your minimum bid and your guaranteed purchase price, make sure you are hitting this round up thing. Otherwise, you may end up with change in there as well. It gives you some really funky numbers if you don't do that. So everything's done. We hit finish. Our bid sheets are all set to go. So now when we create our auction packages, they're just automatically going to start at those minimum bids and calculate those increments for us. If you don't do it, then you have to go into every package and manually set those. Okay. Any questions about bid sheets? Alrighty. So moving on. In your original project settings, I had you type in your chair or co-chair's name. You also need to actually mark them in their supporter record as the chair or co-chair or ELT members. So once you have that chair, and I forgot her name. Okay, Sherry McDonald. Once you have that chair's name, we can search for Sherry. There she is. I'm going to edit her record. I'm going to go to her staff tab, and we're going to mark her as the event chair. It's already been done. If you have co-chairs, they're both going to get that event chair check mark. Dynamics, you can't do that, but Greater Giving, you can. You mark them both as event chairs. In the past, for those of you who go back a few years, we used to mark chairs as both event chair and ELT. Please do not do that. If they're the event chair, they are only the event chair. Don't put them in the ELT. They'll end up double counted in the reports, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to skew any reports. So all of your ELT members, same thing. When you come in here, just check the is a staff box, and then check the ELT box for them. If they're an ELT member and they've agreed to chair a future event, you can also check that off. If they're ELT and they're also your Circle of Red chair, you can mark Circle of Red chair as well as ELT. So you want to be marking as you add people to your Circle of Red, you want to check them off. If you have auction committee, you can check them off. live auction or silent auction. You can also create committees. So if you have a group that you want to track that's not on this list, say you're not separating them out, silent auction versus live auction, you just want an overall auction committee, you can click on this pencil and it allows you to add a committee. So we just click the add button. We can name it whatever we want it to be and save it. So now when we click back into Sherry's record, you'll see there's now an auction committee in the list. You can do that if you have a whole group of honorees or if you have a whole group of survivors, things like that. You can add those and be able to track them. And the nice thing about this is when you have a whole group that's got, whatever checked off in them, you can do advanced searches based on what they're checked off as and send an email through Greater Giving to just your Circle of Red group or just your ELT or just your survivors, things like that. Okay. I want to point something out to you guys just as an FYI. We had an update in Greater Giving 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, and they added a field to our Supporter Basics tab. Please do not ever use this field. It is against our privacy laws. They added this birth date field. So against our privacy policies to track birthdays, do not put anything in there. We are working with Greater Giving to try to get that blocked from the AHA databases, but for now, it's still there. On the Supporter Basics tab, your committee member, or so your ELT member or your chair, make sure that you're putting their company name in there. If they're a contact for a company, you want to copy that and paste it in, because the only way they're going to get credit for their ELT corporate gift is if these two fields match exactly. If you have an extra comma in there or an extra space, if it says Inc. in one and incorporated in the other, it's not going to tie together. They have to be identical. Questions? So event directors, make sure as soon as you are securing your chairs that you're giving all of your chair contact info. If you're not putting it in yourself, make sure you're giving your support staff all of the info. There's no reason why this information shouldn't be fully filled out. Their job title, the company they work at, their either work or home address, their contact info as far as phone numbers, emails, that information. All of that info should be filled in. So make sure you're passing that to your support staff or putting it in yourself. Same thing anytime anyone joins Circle of Red or joins your ELT, make sure you're passing that info. And support staff, best practice is from the time you receive that info, you should have it in Greater Giving within 48 hours. Okay? It only takes a couple of minutes to type it in there, so just make sure you're keeping up with that and not saving it all up. Also remember, Greater Giving and Dynamics do not talk to each other. So if you're putting somebody into Dynamics and putting them on the ELT and Dynamics, you also have to put them in Greater Giving. We want those two lists to match. We actually had a case earlier this year where they were pulling, National was pulling ELT and chair giving information. So they pull corporate gifts out of Dynamics, but personal gifts out of Greater Giving. And as they were pulling the lists, the ELT lists were not matching between the two systems. So For some cases, there were no ELT members in Dynamics, but there were a ton in Greater Giving, and vice versa. So if you're missing ELT members in either system, you are not getting credit for them. So make sure that both systems match. And I can't stress that enough. Some of you may have gotten nasty grams from me. They weren't super nasty, but saying, hey, your lists don't match and you're not getting credit. I don't know if they're going to have me checking those again this year, so you may just all of a sudden not get credit if they don't have us check them. Any questions about filling in your info?
Hey, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
I have an auction chair and a co-chair. Can I do that the same way as you would with
Yep, just mark them
for
both
the
as
event?
auction chair. Yep.
Okay.
Other questions? Why am I flashing? Okay, next up are our packages. Event directors, super important. You should be putting together your the different sponsorship packages or your sponsorship brochure or the proposal booklet, whatever you want to call it. You should be putting that together now if it's not already done for your events with here are the packages that I'm planning on selling. These are the benefits that come with these packages. This is the price we're charging. A company gets a certain number of tables or seats with that. All of that. Make sure that as you're putting those together that you're either putting them in Greater Giving yourself or, again, passing them to your support staff. Super important that those are created in here before you start selling everything. If, let's say, your Life is Why package, you haven't put any of your settings in for your packages and you sell Life is Why and it's supposed to come with 3 tables of 10, when you sell it, it's going to sell 0 seats. And then a week before the event, when you get your 30 names to put in there, you're going to go to put in your guest list and there's going to be no place to put your guest list. And then it's that moment of panic. We have to delete everything and start over. So better to do this now, get a jump on it, have it ready to go when you actually start making your sales. So we're going to start with View Edit Packages. And you're going to see, as I scroll down here, that you're going to have certain packages that are already created for you. Okay. So we're going to start with Life is Why. We'll go up through here. You've got all kinds of pre-named ones. These are like the basic packages that exist across the country. So National kind of gives you the head start with them. And then a lot of events have their own personalized packages or custom packages that they sell. Please leave these alone for the ones that are already in here. Don't rename them. Don't overwrite them. Keep them as is. If you have a custom package, you can create a new package. Just make sure that anything custom starts with a package number of 54, and you'll see you have a couple of examples here. So the package number should be 5402, 5403, 5404, etc. And make sure you set that section to Sponsorship Custom. That section, if it's not set, if you just leave that blank and you sell that package, that money will appear in 0 reports because the section is what defines where that money goes. So if you have no section, the system has no idea where that money is supposed to go, so it just goes nowhere. If you pull a pipeline report or you pull your event evaluation report, that money is going to be missing off of that report, and we don't want that to happen to anybody. So make sure that you are assigning those sections. Good check periodically. Just come in here. If you alphabetize your sections, so just click on that column header, all of your blank ones are going to come up to the top. So if you have any blank ones in there, just go in and edit and assign that section. Same thing will happen. I know it's happened to a few of you where you get the email from finance. Hey, this money came in on the credit card statement. What is this miscellaneous money? Miscellaneous money generally means the package that was sold didn't have a section, so they didn't know where to apply it. 9 times out of 10, that's where that miscellaneous ends up. So auction packages, if you forget to assign it to live versus silent auction, will come up as miscellaneous. So in a package, let's say we're doing this one, information you need to put in here. If it's a custom, you're putting in your package number, your name, and the sponsorship custom section. Make sure you are putting in your sponsorship level. There should never be any levels above 5. So all of your sponsorship levels should be 1 through 5. And we're going to go back to our Greater Giving folder on SharePoint. If you go to the Greater Giving Manual in SharePoint and go to the appendices, I believe it's appendix, it's either A or C, and I forgot, I think it's C. There is a grid that shows you, based on your MSA, where your cutoff points are for level 1, level 2, level 3, etc. I actually have the grid printed and stuck to my wall. I also carry a copy of it in my computer bag. I reference it all the time, so I know I tell you guys all the time, don't print the manual because it's all hyperlinked, but I do recommend printing that page. Okay, so we're going to view this. Sorry, this document has gotten so huge that it takes forever to load now. But just keep in mind, everything that I'm going over today is in this manual with step-by-step instructions. So database cleanup, there's all your settings that I went over. You're putting in your chairs and your ELT and all of that stuff, creating new committees. We're working on packages right now. So basically sections 1 through 6 is everything we're doing today. And then go down to, oh, I was wrong. It's Appendix A. So if you click on Appendix A in that table of contents, it jumps to the page. So this, very handy. So Buffalo, we're looking at right now, their MSA is a 51, so they would base theirs on this column. So anything above 25,000 for an MSA of 51 through 100 is a level 1. Anything from 15,000 to 24,999 is a level 2, and so on. Anything 49.99 or lower would be a level 5. Okay, so you're going to put your level in there based on the price that you're charging for that sponsorship. How many seats come with that? So if it's 2 tables of 10, you're going to put 20 admissions in there. Fair market value, please, 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 please fill in your fair market values as you do these. There is no reason why a fair market value should ever be left blank. As long as you know your goals and your budget, you can calculate your fair market value. So the fair market value for a sponsorship is based off of your direct expense budget, which we put in the settings on our very first step. So for this event, the direct expense budget was $10,000. You're going to take that $10,000 And you're going to divide that by how many people you expect to attend to your event. So if we're expecting 300 people, we're going to divide 10,000 by 300. And let's say it gives you $30. So that $30 is your per person fair market value. You're going to take that $30, multiply it by how many admissions you stuck in that box. So if it comes with 2 tables of 10, 20, you're going to multiply 30 by 20. That's your fair market value for this sponsorship. Questions? So direct expenses, or direct expense budget, divided by expected number of guests, multiplied by the admissions included. So as long as you have, I mean, you know how many people you expect to attend every year. Every event can say, you know, we usually have about 500 people, or we usually have about 300 people. Use that number. So direct expense budget divided by that number will give you your per person, and then depending on the package and how many tickets come with it, will give you your total fair market value. Price is what you are charging for that sponsorship. So if it's a $25,000 sponsorship, put the $25,000 in there. And then description, you can just copy and paste it out of that sponsorship brochure, or out of the proposals, whatever it is that you're given, or whatever it is that you make up as an event director. Just copy the list of benefits and paste it in there. It doesn't have to be pretty. We just want to see what you're giving the sponsor for that price point. Because we don't want to see anybody with a price point of, say, $2,500 that's giving out, you know, 2 tables of 10, signage at the event, logos on the website, the opportunity to speak from the podium, and all of this stuff that they shouldn't be getting for that price point. Okay. If for those events that do online bidding and have a package for actually no, never mind, totally wrong. I'm thinking business. If you want to put an image in there for, you know, the AHA logo or something like that, if you wanted to print all of these packages, you could actually make a brochure based on what you have in here for packages. So you could do an advanced search based on, I just want to see my sponsorship type packages, and then print a brochure. And it would give you the package name, the description, the pricing, and all of that stuff. So if you had gold heart, silver heart, bronze heart, and so on, and you had a picture for that, you could drop those in there. 99 times out of 100, there's no picture here, but you can if you want. Questions? Okay, same holds true for ticket packages. You have a bunch of pre-created ticket packages. You have the 3500s and you have the 3700s. 3500s do not ever touch. You will get a nasty gram from me if you ever sell a 3500 package. 3500 packages are attached to the website, and I have to track the sales that are made through the website. So if you're manually selling those 3500 packages on the back end, it skews all of my tracking. It makes more work for me, which I don't like. So you guys get the 3700s, I get the 3500s. 3700 should be your general event ticket. Anything 3701 through wherever you end up, and you can overwrite these pre-created ticket package numbers. So 3701 could be your comp ticket. So you could just change this to be comp ticket. Make it include 1 ticket. Comp is going to be a 0 price, but you are going to have a fair market value on it. because even though you're not charging anything, that ticket is still worth something. So you could have 3701 be your comp ticket, 3702 could be your student ticket price if you're charging a different amount for students, or patron tickets. You can create a package for that. If you have a buy one get one half ticket package, you can create one for that. So you can have any kinds of ticket packages in there that you want. Just make sure, same as the sponsorship packages, that you are filling that out completely. If you need to go over the pre-created number of ticket packages, say you've created through 3709 and you need to do a 3710, make sure you are assigning your section as tickets offline. Your tables should not be a ticket package, so don't name one of these your table. Okay, unless it is just a table of 10 tickets. You already have a package in here for tables. So if your table comes with anything besides 10 tickets, if they get their name on the sign, then you want to be using this package number 7000 for tables. Questions? You also have, I can't remember where, oh, there it is. You have an in-kind package. You can sell this to anyone who is doing an in-kind donation. If somebody is donating all of the centerpieces, or donating 200 CPR kits or anything like that, you can sell that in-kind package. Don't sell it for a dollar value though. Because that will skew your numbers. In kind, we get 0 in cash for that. What you can do is when you sell it, in the sale itself of the package, you can make notes that says, in-kind sponsor of centerpieces, in-kind value of $5,750, whatever. Any questions about doing the in-kind? And I'm not seeing it on here. Same thing for media sponsors. I don't think anybody actually pays for a media sponsorship, but if you do charge for media sponsorships, then you can do a package with a price, or you can do just a media package with the $0 and sell that to any of your media people. Okay. So, questions about anything I went over? I know it was a lot of information. Like I said, everything is in the manual. So if you want, download a copy of this to your desktop so that you still have all of your hyperlinks. And if you forget, say, how to do your receipt settings, you can just click on receipt settings and it'll jump to that page, and you'll see I tell you exactly where to go to find it. I give you pictures and exactly what you should be checking off. Okay, so you can follow along step by step with that as well. And then if you need me to jump on IM with you, on Skype with you, and double check, say you put in a few packages and you're not 100% sure that you're doing it right, and you want me to double check that for you, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know. And then just keep in mind, as far as getting your events set up, Heart Balls, I have to have that website set up form in order to create your event. Go Red events. I am going to start today creating your 1819s. So be careful if you're still working in the 1718s that you're not putting information in the wrong places. Generally, you're not going to be using the 1718s much because anything we get from income now will, if you get any old Open Your Heart pledges, somebody pledged at the 2018 event but just got around to paying us, you're going to put that in the 1819. Just delete the sale from 1718, put it into 1819 as a pre-event donation, because the money is going to end up counting for 1819. So any questions? You guys know where to find me. As soon as you're ready to get your websites up and going, please send over those forms and I will start sketching out websites. Other than that, that's all I have for you guys today.
Hey, Melissa,
Mhm.
can you go